welcome into the Three Guys from Wisconsin podcast. I am Logan. Tonight I am joined by Jake. He's back, and he's got some interesting MMA stuff to talk about. We're going to talk about the NFL and whatever else we want to. So, Jake, welcome back. How you been?
Been alright.
Were you able to watch the Packer game on Sunday? I know your work schedule might conflict with that a little bit, but were you able to see it?
Oh, I watched it. Stayed up and watched it through and through.
Dude, you and me have always kind of been like Jags guys. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of hard to hate the Jaguars, but like, I just remember back in the day, big MJD fans, big Gerard and Leftwich fans. That defense was awesome back in the day with Stroud and Henderson, Donovan Darius, Mike Peterson. So it's kind of nice.
Have we ever seen a defensive tackle tandem like that since Stroud and Henderson?
I mean, that was impressive. I mean, the Lions' defensive line was really good for a while. It wasn't that good. I mean, that Jags defensive line... That Jacksonville defense, when Del Rio was there, their defense was what... They should have went to the Super Bowl that one year. They lost to the Patriots. And it was amazing. That game, we watched that game at my mom's house up in the loft. I remember it was like 38 to 20 or 38 to 32 or something like that, and the Jags lost in the last 4 minutes. But like, outside of that game, that Jacksonville defense was amazing. They were super fun to watch. Fred Jackson, they never had any wide receivers, but they didn't need them. But dude, I don't know. Stroud and Henderson, since I've been around, is the last defensive tackle tandem that I can remember being just balls to the wall amazing.
I agree. I don't think we've ever seen another tandem like that, where there's just two monsters up front that just plug the holes, literally prevented teams from running up the middle. Every single team. So they had Mike Peterson behind him at middle linebacker, who was a brick house, and no one got past him.
And you got Donovan Darius on the back end. You got I think his name was like Chris. Was it Chris Harris? Something Harris. And then they had my dude Rasheed Mathis, who was like always rated as one of the best corners. They were good. They had that dude who had like the death stare in that Madden picture. You know what I'm talking about?
The dude with the death stare.
TJ Slaughter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he had like this crazy death stare picture in Madden. But I don't know, man. That Packers game was fun to watch. I mean, obviously it's more fun when they win, but Jacksonville kind of made it. I mean, they absolutely made it interesting. They were 100% on fourth downs until the last one they failed on. They were able to move the ball at will. They had more big plays than the Packers did. And you know, it kind of looks like they're gonna be good. I don't know how good, but maybe 9-7, maybe 8-8, which is a huge improvement from how they have been. But I don't know. I just thought that was kind of cool. But what were some of your impressions about the Packers? I was actually really pleased. Even though they gave up a lot of points, I was really pleased with the defense.
I was pleased with their run stopping.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they packed the middle really well. I mean, aside from a few outlying plays,
mm-hmm.
but
especially, and they were missing a lot of guys too. You know what I mean? Like they're missing guys up front on the defensive line, and they had two guys who they don't really see the field much play, and it was hot and it was humid, and you know, we didn't have a rotation at all on the defensive line, or much of one to speak, and they played really well. I thought Clay made plays when he had to. That Joe Thomas kid was making plays. I always remember him because like he's been on the preseason roster for a few years, and I know he made the practice squad in Dallas. He was on our practice squad one year, and looks like he made the team this year, and immediately came in and made plays. Martinez had a quiet game, but I mean he's young. I'll be interested to see how he will go forward. Corners kind of had a rough game, but I mean they made the plays when they had to down the stretch. Jacksonville, I mean, really, like, they have a lot of weapons. So I thought we did as good as we possibly could. The offense looks like, I mean, there were times where Jacksonville just could not stop them at all. And how long has it been since we've seen that?
How long has it been since Aaron Rodgers, like, is getting tackled, throws the ball perfectly to where the only Devontae Adams can catch it right on the goal line? I thought, oh my gosh.
And
I'm so excited for this offense.
And, it's like probably one of the 10 best plays I've seen, and I'm not bullshitting. That was maybe not play, but throw. Probably one of the 10 best throws I've seen. And it got outside of the Packers sports circle, that got no pub. I think it's just because it's Rodgers. Like, it's just expected. But my goodness,
people expect it.
That might be one of the best throws you see all year. He's got a guy hanging on him, throws a dart to where only Devontae could get it, like you said. And Devontae held onto it, caught the ball, right? And that came...
Yeah,
Go ahead.
As lucky as it was, he made a pretty spectacular diving catch and managed to stay in the end zone, too, because it was right on the 1-yard line.
Yep. And I think it was a drive after he dropped that bomb Rodgers threw to him, and it hit him right in the hands.
Yeah, he had a pretty bad drop. That's okay.
Jordy looked good. He was what I was really pleased to see, not just the touchdown and stuff, but that little sideline pass they always do, where Jordy takes a step back and he has to beat the guy he needs to beat, and then he's got like a first down. They did that a couple times, and he looked strong and he looked good. There wasn't any hesitation at all, and that only can mean good things, because that play is a really big part of what they like to do, especially getting Jordy to beat guys one-on-one. And that's, I mean, it's going to be fun. Cook didn't get as involved as I had anticipated. Richard Rodgers had a huge grab, but I think overall they'll be good. Super fun to watch, and it's going to be an amazing game Sunday night.
What do you think it says about Jordy and Aaron's connection after not playing together for a full year? He comes back the first game, Jordy Nelson, and they pick up right where they left off.
I think it speaks to just the work that Jordy probably had to put in to get back and to not lose a step. I mean, I know that we've progressed, not we, but medical science has progressed in the way ACLs are handled. So it's not like you're going to miss a season and a half like it used to be. But still, I mean, that's an incredibly difficult thing to come back from. And, so far it's been seamless. They held him out for the preseason. But it just speaks to how good Rodgers is as a quarterback, the work that they put in. And, I mean, really, when you think about quarterback and wide receiver tandems, I don't know if there's a stronger connection than those two. I mean, not talent-wise, because obviously you could name 2 or 3, maybe even 5 wide receivers that you might pick before Jordy. Obviously, Rodgers is the best, if not top 3 quarterback in the league, but just the connection that they have as far as quarterback and wide receiver, I don't know what other tandem rivals that in terms of chemistry and connection. And I know where you're going to be. You're going to throw it where I expect you to throw it. And It just works. Like the touchdown they had. What the play is broken down, and Jordy was essentially covered until Rodgers threw the ball. Jordy knows where to go, has that one little half step, catches the ball, touchdown. I mean, you don't see that on many other teams with many other combinations.
I agree. How do you think I like to call him Eduardo E. Lacy looked?
I thought it was fine. I will never, ever, ever get why they still decide they want to run on a shotgun. And this is, I didn't want to get mad tonight. This is where I get super frustrated with the Packers. That every single year after, we lose in the playoffs, you have a tough game, you have a tough loss one year to the Cardinals last season. You have a tough loss, the worst loss I've ever experienced. And I've been through the Badgers season when they had Russell Wilson, and those were losses I never thought I could get over. I still am not over. And we lost that game to Seattle, and I'm still not over that. I'm going to tell my kids about that loss. And you have this super talented team, and you always hear this one thing, and it's always how we need to make adjustments, and we need to change. We have to get better. We have to make adjustments. We have to analyze what we're doing wrong, not just as players but as coaches. And then you still run Lacy out of the shotgun where it has zero success. His biggest runs have always, and I wish I had a way to look at some, maybe Elias Sports or whatever, I can look at that and see Lacy's runs out of pro-style sets instead of shotgun sets and his success, because it always seems like he's busting runs out of I formation. When they do that full house stuff they always pull out in mid-November, when they have a fullback back there, or even just single back. But when they do that,
single back is where he gets the majority of his between the tackles runs.
Yeah, and they do like this pistol stuff, and they do the shotgun stuff. When they were on the 5-yard line, and they were just driving on Jacksonville, they got down to the 5. Shotgun run, shotgun run, shotgun run. 3 straight times.
The shotgun runs need to go. The pistol runs are okay, because you still can't really see where Lacy's at, but the shotgun runs where he's standing next to Aaron and they do that stupid-ass toss on the same side that Lacy's standing, that makes absolutely no sense. And in the McCarthy era, we always joke about this, but that toss has really gotten them 20 yards max.
One time. It happened one time, and
the McCarthy era.
And I posted it. It was like Jarris Wynn or some running back who, I don't know, he got 28 yards one time on that run, and McCarthy has a big red circle around it on his playbook, and inside the circle it says 6, and that's how many times a game he has to run that play. I don't know why. It's infuriating. It is absolutely infuriating. And you spend this money on, like, okay, Bakhtiari just got paid, well deserved. He had the longest streak of not giving up a sack, and he still holds it. It's like 417 snaps or something like that. I can't remember. It's a lot. But you spend this money on the offensive line, and you want this fat dude who is a pure pro-style running back to run outside the tackles. Like, this makes zero sense to me. I will never get it. I will always be frustrated. Even, they get 5 or 6 yards out of that shotgun run, it still pisses me off to no end. It makes zero sense. It shows that you have no idea how to evaluate the talent on your roster. And, like, if they were doing that with Starks, all day, do it as much as you want, because that makes sense. I just will never understand why they do it with Lacy.
When I get on this subject with Eddie Lacy and the Packers, I always bring up the point, whenever, on average, I should say, not whenever, because that means every single play, but on average, when he does dives between the tackles, and he's running between the tackles, he averages probably 4 yards a carry. 4 yards or 5 yards a carry.
And you want to know
Now,
why?
I'm not a math magician or anything, but 5 yards a carry, if you run for 5 yards every single time, that's a foolproof drive every single time. But instead, they want to run him outside the tackles. About 60% of his runs that he gets are outside the tackles.
And
I don't understand it.
And let's make our big guy run sideline to sideline and not north and south. And I mean, we've talked about it. You just hit it again. When he runs in between the tackles, he's almost always running straight. And if he does hit someone, he's very good at almost always will at least break one tackle. Because when they do that shotgun stuff, he's almost hitting the backfield immediately and somehow gets like 2 yards out of it.
Yeah. I hate it. It's so dumb. He's a downhill runner. Even though he likes to do spins and stuff, I don't get why he likes to do that either. In my opinion, he should run like Jerome Bettis used to, where he just lowered his shoulder and fell forward for yards instead of doing spin moves and then getting driven backwards.
Jerome Bettis
between the tackles, he's foolproof. I don't understand.
Jerome Bettis made a career out of falling forward for 4 yards for a touchdown. Like
because that's all they needed.
He's in the Hall of Fame because he fell forward for 4-yard touchdowns. And it's like
that's what we need out of Lacey.
Exactly. Now, okay, I know this is super like into the future, but he's a free agent. There really aren't many free agent running backs that are interesting. I think Latavius Murray is a free agent. Obviously some guys get cut because of cap issues and stuff like that. But it could be a summer, or I should say a spring, where NFL teams, like, I don't know, Lacey could be a hot commodity. Do you think he could see something like get an offer in like the $7-8 million range from another team, or is that, you think that's too high?
I think that's plausible because I still stand by my early season prediction for Eddie Lacy that he's going to get 1,000 yards this year.
Mm-hmm.
And if he does that, I think a lot of teams that can view his talent are going to offer him some money. I don't think it's going to be an overly priced contract, but I think people know Eddie Lacy's talent, and I think they know that the Packers kind of use him wrongly. So he might get shopped pretty well. I don't know. If he goes for 1,000 yards, I don't see why not.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Like, I wonder if there's some teams who just think, man, they have no idea how to use this guy. I'm going to pound him 20 times through the tackles and just, lean on the opponent's defenses. And, the Packers do a little bit better job of that when around when December, late November comes around, they bust out the full house package and they start running a little more. But why wait if it works and that's what your guy is successful at? Why would you wait? I wouldn't be surprised if the Packers like lowballed him like $4 million base salary and like tried to incentivize it maybe to go up to 7 or something like that. But I really don't think the Packers are that keen on paying him. But I don't know. I'd be interested to see like what other people think and because Lacey's kind of like that. It's weird. Like, the Packers are a weird team because it seems like everyone kind of has their favorite Packer, but everyone loves a lot of the individual guys. Lacey is the one that kind of is like in the middle, where like people aren't sure where they sit with him. You know what I mean? Like, it's
right.
Like you think of all the old wide receivers. Like, Donald Driver, hell yeah, everyone likes Donald Driver. Greg Jennings, until he left, hell yeah, everyone likes him. But like Lacey, he's been good. Last year was not great for him. I mean, that's not a secret that he was overweight. But even before that, people were just kind of weird about Lacey. So I don't know. He's just one of the Packers that people have always been kind of in the middle ground on, and I think that's why it's kind of hard to get people's feelings on him. Like, if they even want him back.
I've always been high on Lacey just because I know that if they used him correctly, it would make our offense 10 times more deadly.
Yep.
If we pound him up the middle and then pull out for a play action and over the top with our awesome-ass wide receivers, I don't see how anyone could stop that. But that's not how they use them, and we all know that.
Yep.
But back to what you're saying, I think Eddie Lacy could fit in a lot of different teams. I wouldn't doubt if the Patriots threw him a contract, because they always seem to like to scoop up those LeGarrette Blount type players, and he kind of reminds me of LeGarrette Blount.
Yeah.
A little bit better, but he's between the tackles too, and then that's where they're similar.
Speaking of New England, you know who's been good for them? And it's kind of weird. Like, he had a pretty solid end of the season last year, and he's like involved in the offense. James White.
Yeah, he's one of the Badgers that are still going strong.
And like he's the, who was I talking about with this? He's the Badgers running back that like got totally overpassed by Ball and by Melvin Gordon, but
yeah, because that was when we had Ball, Gordon, and
White.
James White all get 1,000 yards that year.
Did they all get 1,000? I know we ran for over 3,000 yards.
They all hit 1,000 yards in one season.
Man,
I believe I'm correct on that.
And he was always a really solid pass catcher, and he's in the perfect offense as a running back that is going to catch the ball. So I just think it's kind of cool. Like he's the Badgers running back that's been able to hang on, and like he's kind of
He was a backup.
Yeah.
He was backed up. Speaking of NCAA, what do you think of the Big Ten this year? I know we have two different conferences in the Big Ten. We have two divisions, but we kind of eat up a lot of the top 15. We have 5 teams in the Big Ten that are in the top 15 for the best in the nation.
All right, you got Ohio State, Michigan State, Iowa, Wisconsin. Did I say Ohio State? I said Ohio State. Michigan State, Ohio State, Iowa, Wisconsin.
You're missing Michigan. Jim Harbaugh.
Michigan. Jeez Louise. Yeah, that's 5 teams in like the top 15?
Yeah, top 15. We have OSU at number 3. We have Jim Harbaugh's Wolverines at number 4.
Man, I didn't realize they shot up that high. I know they were top 10. I didn't realize they were 4.
No, check their last 2 games. They've been winning by 40 points.
Yeah, they blew out USC, and then they blew out... They play Hawaii or something like that week 1?
Yeah, they played Hawaii and just killed them. But then we got the Badgers, who were unranked. Then we put an ass whooping on LSU.
Somehow went to 10.
And now we're number 9.
9 now? 9. Oh, my Lord.
And then we got Michigan State, who is 12, and Iowa, who is 13. Now, the beautiful thing about this is Wisconsin is on the easy side of the Big Ten. So none of those teams are on our side.
But we do play Ohio State, Michigan State, Iowa, and we play Michigan, I think. So our schedule sucks this year. But
I think we can handle them, though. Our defense is best in the nation.
It's really good, and it's really fun to watch. I have a feeling if this keeps going, maybe you might be able to attach the linebacker U moniker to Wisconsin. Or just, they've just pounded out. And I'm not just saying, like, average NFL guys. They're putting studs in the NFL defensively lately. And it's super...
Well, if Borland didn't...
Yeah.
If Borland didn't retire, he would have been the next big thing.
Borland was... his rookie season was amazing. And, he was the guy that was going to supplant Willis. Now, I'm not going to say Willis was going to, go off somewhere, but they ran a 3-4. You could have 2 middle linebackers in there. Willis and Borland would have been fantastic. You got Levy in Detroit. I'm not going to say Nick Hayden is a fantastic player, but he's notched out a 10-year career. He's still hanging around. Obviously, J.J. Watt. It's really kind of cool. Like, how, because nationally, Wisconsin is pretty much an afterthought. I don't think that's any secret. But I mean, they're a very solid school for putting pros in the league, and I don't think they get enough credit for
Definitely. No one could argue with that. I mean, if you look at our resume,
and it's not just guys either. Like, I don't want to get that crossed up. It's like good players.
Well, J.J. Watt, Russell Wilson,
Yep.
Levy. You know, we've had the list goes on and on. You can sit here and speculate all day. I predicted that Michigan would shoot up into the rankings when Harbaugh went back.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that's going to attract a lot of players all over the nation.
Yep, and it hasn't taken
like
them long.
Their recruiting just went up probably 100%.
Yep.
After signing Harbaugh as the coach. So I predicted that. That's nothing new. But I just wanted to point that out, how powerful the Big Ten is this year.
And, you know, for a long time, for about 3 years, and Ohio State has always gotten a lot of respect, but in the last, 3 years, they've kind of, like, fallen out. The Pac-12 got good for a while. The ACC has been very strong lately. And the Big Ten just kind of fell by the wayside. All while Michigan State has been a fantastic football program the last 10 years. Michigan, and I really do feel like it was because Michigan was bad. And when Michigan's like one of the big dogs in the Big Ten, so when they're not good, it's kind of weak. But, I mean, obviously Ohio State is going to be very good. Iowa, I think this year is going to be the real telltale year for Iowa. They have a very good quarterback who's considered one of the better NFL prospects. So that'll be interesting to see. And last year, I just think they kind of flew under the radar, and they won a lot of games like 13-7 or 21-10. Like, they're not blowing the doors off.
Yeah, they
teams.
grinded out a lot of them.
Yeah, they grinded out a lot of wins. But I think this will be the year to determine for Iowa. And honestly, coming into this season for the Badgers, my expectations were low. I mean, the hopes were high. You wanted to see, Clement have a good year, and hopefully Bart Houston or Hornibrook, play well, especially with Hornibrook. That's why I was actually very surprised that Bart got the start, because Hornibrook's a freshman, and you want, to see if you can grow with him. And he came in against Akron late in the game and played well. So I was,
Well, it's no secret our defense is going to be the anchor of our team this year.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's no secret. After 2 games, they've only given up 24 points.
Yep. And
so that's something to, hoot and holler about, because I think that's fantastic.
And I'm not going to sit here and tell you Akron is like this ridiculously good football team, but they're a very good offense. If you go back and I know they're in the MAC, and a lot of those games are in the 60s, but Akron is going to wind up being a top, 30 to 35 offense at the end of this season. They can straight up sling the ball around, and it was completely neutralized. And LSU has the best running back in the country. You can give me Christian McCaffrey all you want, but Fournette is going to be the better NFL prospect. And they were able to shut him down for as long as they did, I think is commendable. And it's just really sad to see Orr go down, because this is going to be a big year for him. He's still relatively young. I hope they can somehow work out a medical red shirt, because he's going to miss the whole season. But they keep pounding these linebackers out, and their defensive line has always been strong. The cornerback play has been very good. They really haven't been challenged yet, but yeah, dude, it's for real. And it's, how you always got excited to see the Badgers run the football and watch their offense? It's kind of, especially last season, it has definitely flipped, where I really get into watching that defense.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm going to the game tomorrow against Georgia State, so hopefully we can lay a 60 burger on them.
Hopefully. So did you watch CM Punk get his dick kicked in?
We turned it on when the fight started, and I said exactly what would happen. I was like, after 3 seconds, he's on his ass, and I'm like, his face is redder than anything. He's gonna get knocked out in about 15 seconds here, and he tapped shortly after that. I mean, good for him. He tried something that he's worked however long to do, but you know what? So have all the other guys in MMA. They've all trained and worked hard to do and get to that certain point. And they didn't have the opportunities thrust at them like Punk did. And I don't know, like, if... I honestly didn't care or read too much up about it in the lead-up to the fight. So I don't know if Punk was talking, like, shit or anything like that. I know he didn't shake hands, which is almost as egregious as not standing up during the anthem. But I think 99.9% of the of UFC and Ultimate Fighting fan base expected this outcome. I just don't think they expected it in about 13 seconds.
Did you hear how much he got paid for his first fight ever?
Did he get $1 million?
He probably made 7 figures. Yeah.
Really?
He got $5,000 from the UFC, or $500,000 from the UFC as an entry-level fight.
And then, okay.
Now most newcomers to the UFC, they only make $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
So his fame in the WWE basically bought himself the opportunity to fight for the UFC, and now Dana White's not going to let him fight again.
Well, now after he made all that money off him.
I was against CM Punk doing this fight in the first place. I thought it was just complete disrespect to everyone that has put in their time and actually fought 15 fights and fought and won those 15 fights just to get to the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Punk hasn't fought before, and he got his first chance and he got just destroyed by a guy who wasn't even a big name.
I think this can potentially be a launching point for Gall, though. I mean, if you want to draw a positive out of it, you know, I mean, you can, and it does suck, but I mean, you know, you can completely flip the script and leave Punk in the past and like, hey, this is a guy now who has a spotlight for being in that fight, for being on that pay-per-view, and this, I mean, that could certainly be a launching pad for him.
Yeah, I think that's why Mickey Gall called CM Punk out, because he knew it would be a spotlight fight, and he knew that he could just whoop the shit out of him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Punk was on his ass
smart.
in 3 seconds. It was...
He didn't land a single punch.
No.
He didn't hit him once.
Well, and I mean,
Punk got beat up.
That's what you should do. Like, go right at a guy who has 0 experience.
Right.
It's not like...
Yeah,
It's not like he has this punching power that's going to take you with one hit and knock you out. It's not.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything CM Punk could have done in that fight besides maybe try to survive.
Mm-hmm.
Try to maybe keep your distance and run away, kind of.
and try to catch him with one. I mean, that would be your only hope. But I mean, Gall did what he needed to do. He closed the gap. He got him on the ground and he worked him. Ground and pound, and what he won with a rear naked, didn't he?
Yeah, he choked him.
Yep.
But I wasn't interested in that fight whatsoever. I just knew that he wasn't going to win. Mm-hmm. And obviously, you saw what I posted on Facebook about Randy Orton's comments on someone asked him if he was going to join MMA, and he said no. I would fake hit the guy and then get choked out.
I like Randy Orton, man. Like, the last couple of years have been good Randy Orton. I'm a big mark, so I, of course, like wrestling and stuff like that, but Orton for a while got kind of boring, but he's been pretty solid lately. I think him being away from wrestling, it helped him a lot. But so what else have you got?
Like that
Oh, go ahead.
What?
Go ahead.
I just like that he didn't have any false impressions on what he could or could not do.
I mean, that's
knows
just
that
it.
He didn't
I mean, that's just it. You gotta know what you are and what you're getting paid for. You can't, don't. I mean, you gotta respect what you're doing. Don't like get like Brock is not the rule. All right, he's the exception. He's a fucking monster.
And he was an NCAA champion.
Yeah,
in
and
wrestling.
he at least had a
legit.
background in, what he's trying to do. He's not like, he doesn't go to jiu-jitsu classes or Muay Thai or whatever the hell Punk was doing when he was wrestling.
Right.
Like, but you had an interesting thing you were telling me about with UFC and a couple of their competitors.
Yeah, we've spoken in our previous podcasts about how I thought it was pretty bonkers that in the world of MMA we now have free agency because Bellator is becoming a pretty big competitor to the UFC. And I just made the point that the owner or the president of Bellator, Scott Coker, who used to be the founder of Strikeforce before the UFC bought them out, I made the point that Scott Coker, the talent that he recruited for his Strikeforce organization, I made a list of names, and you might recognize some of these that are now UFC champions or former UFC champions that are Scott Coker talent that he brought up. So these are the people that Scott Coker recruited before the UFC bought Strikeforce out. Ronda Rousey, big cash cow for the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel Cormier, everyone knows John Jones versus Cormier. He was a title holder. Ronda Rousey was a title holder. Luke Rockhold, he was a title holder for 3 fights. Tyrone Woodley, current title holder in the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
Robbie Lawler, former title holder in the UFC. Misha Tate, former title holder in the UFC. Nick Diaz, big cash cow for the UFC.
Yep.
And Jakari Souza, you might not recognize that name, but he's a number 1 contender right now. So those are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 big names that I just read off are Scott Coker brought up talent.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Dana White, the only 2 that I could think of that have made him big money over the years is obviously Conor McGregor and the brother of Nick Diaz, which is Nate Diaz.
Because, and we talked about this before, UFC for the longest time lived off the names before it was fully, like, UFC. You know what I mean? Like, it lived off the names that were just, like, Ultimate Fighters, like the Murs and the Iceman and what's his name? He's in the Expendables. I hate to have to reference him that way.
Randy Couture?
Couture. Thank you. Oh, man, I'm embarrassed.
Yeah. So where I'm leading with this, because Scott Coker is the president of Bellator, we're seeing a lot of UFC fighters fight out their contracts for the UFC, and now they're switching to Bellator because in Bellator you get treated a lot better as a fighter in terms of finances. Obviously you have your individual sponsors, so the fighters are making more money and they're more happy, whereas in the UFC you have to follow the Reebok deal, which everyone knows how atrocious that was. So recently in the free agency, Bellator has been able to sign on Benson Henderson, who was like a 5 fight or 8 fight UFC champion at the 155 pound division. They've been able to sign Rory McDonald, who everyone knows in the UFC fought in the 170 pound division and put on some crazy fights. He's had 3 title fights, and he's only 27. Chael Sonnen, everybody knows Chael Sonnen, him and his rivalry with Anderson Silva.
Yep.
And many, many more are going to follow because they just get paid more money over in Bellator. And that's not the only thing. Bellator treats them like they're actual people instead of treating them like they're just numbers to the UFC.
Your fighters are your well-being, and if you can't, if you cannot understand that, because dude, Dana White is not driving pay-per-view buys. The fighters are.
Exactly. Conor McGregor is.
Yeah.
So I was watching a podcast the other day, and one of the people on the podcast brought up a good point with how this Reebok deal appeals to fighters. Okay, so before Reebok deal, let's say you're making $1 million a fight. And now this Reebok deal comes in and they're saying, hey, well, we got a new job for you, but instead of making $1 million a fight, you're going to make $100,000 a fight. Do you accept our new job? And who in their right minds is going to say, yeah, I'll take a $900,000 pay cut to perform your new job that you're offering me? Nobody. So I think in the near future, maybe 5 years, I say that Bellator outgrows the UFC.
Well, and
because the UFC is going to lose its talent.
And it's already kind of starting. Like, you're already starting to see the purge go. And it really is, and the names you mentioned are big names, but it's really going to take one household name. And honestly, there's only one household name right now. And I think that's a problem for the sport.
Yes, I agree. So I assume you're talking about Conor McGregor for the UFC.
Yes.
That's the one household name right now.
Yep.
And you and I talked before the podcast. I bet if Conor went to Bellator, if he fought out his UFC contract and went to Bellator,
the pay-per-view
not only would he'd probably be making 8 figures a fight. Not only that, who wouldn't want to put their name on Conor McGregor? You would have Nike, you would have Microsoft, you would have all the big names out there wanting to sponsor him.
Mm-hmm.
Fighters are going to see that happening in the UFC, and they're going to be like, well, I want to do that. So if Conor leaves and goes to Bellator, it's going to create a huge funnel, and it's going to funnel out the rest of the UFC stars over to Bellator.
Yep.
And I think the UFC could very easily sink within the next 10 years.
Which is crazy because they were just bought for such a crazy amount of money, but they don't invest in their fighters. They don't.
Exactly. Why do you think they sold out?
Yeah.
Why do you think the owners sold out the company? Do you think they realized that this Reebok deal was trash and that they're going to lose a lot of fighters to it?
I think it's because they thought their value was never going to be higher. Which is, I'm sure there's a lot of factors, and I guarantee that they can kind of see that the talent has been dwindling really kind of steadily over the last 5 years. You don't have many heavyweights anymore.
Once they stopped paying people stopped wanting to fight.
Yep.
They're just like, I'll do big fights, but I'm not going to fight every 3 months like I used to.
Mm-hmm.
I'll maybe fight once every 2 years.
Yep.
I think they realized that they made a piss poor deal, and that, like you said, their value is the highest right now.
Yep.
And I think they sold.
Well, they sold when they needed to.
Exactly. If you're a private contractor, Logan, would you rather make $100,000 or $1 million per fight? I'd rather make $1 million, because fighters are private contractors.
Yep, just like wrestlers. Your wealth is determined on your ability to perform, and if you're not receiving fair value for your ability to perform, especially since UFC has kind of been losing its monopoly over the MMA fighting, you're gonna lose talent.
Have you ever watched a Bellator event that they put on?
I think I have. Is JR calling that now, or is he something else? I know JR and another fighter have been calling some MMA, some boxing.
No, he's not calling Bellator. I was just going to make the point that Bellator shows are pretty good. They have a lot of good fights. Their talent isn't that bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's just they're not in the spotlight, so most people can't really see it. But if you sit down and watch a Bellator show, they're normally on Friday nights on Spike TV because they're owned by what the hell is it called? Comcast or something like that?
Yep, Comcast.
Some big player. So they have potential to be in a lot of spotlight, primetime TV. If you just sit down and actually watch one of their events, I think you'll be impressed. A lot of their fights are really good, and they have some good fighters in there. And they're only going to gain more talent from it.
Speaking of talent...
I just want to go over that. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting fact that Scott Coker brought up talent is beating the shit out of Dana White's brought up talent.
Speaking of talent, there's going to be some talent on the field on Sunday, Jake. And we are about to make some picks. Now, this week doesn't really rival last week's in terms of... I mean, week 1, everyone's excited. It doesn't matter what teams are playing. People are going to watch. People are going to be into it. Obviously, Packers-Jacksonville, I was fucking lit up, ready to go watch that game. This week, it's kind of back to reality of what the week-to-week, what's the word I'm looking for? Grind. It's not really a grind to watch football for me, but the week-to-week for football is. So you kind of have some stinkers, but there are still some good games this week, and I want to make my picks because it makes me feel good about myself.
Okay, real quick before you make your picks, how many did you pick right last week?
Not a lot. It was a practice week. Me and Nick were, just feeling it out. It wasn't good, Jake.
You're going to find this hard to believe, but I only got like 4 of them wrong.
Did you?
Yeah.
Now, me and Nick go against the spread. So we pick against the spread, and that makes things a little easier. But let's go ahead and start. Detroit and Tennessee. Tennessee was seriously dominating the Vikings until midway through the third quarter. That was the second game on one of the TVs at the bar I was watching that, and it was like fun. Marcus Mariota was doing some stuff. Your boy, running back, Murray was doing some stuff. He looks like
Marco Murray.
He looks like he's gonna get the ball a lot. And Mariota made his, second-year quarterback mistakes. You kind of expect that, but Tennessee's going up against a Detroit team that their defense is shit, dude. Like, it's bad. I don't know how else to describe it. That game they had against Indy was sad to watch for both of those teams defensively. I don't think Indy is a very good football team. And
I think Tennessee is going to beat Detroit pretty handily.
I don't know if they beat Detroit, but I guarantee they cover the spread. It's at 6 points. Detroit's got to win by more than 6. I don't think they do that. Give me Tennessee all day long. Next game.
Give me Tennessee.
Yep, we're both on Tennessee. And then Nick, who sent in his picks via the internet. Don't we live in a fabulous age? Nick has taken... Whoa, where did he go? Nick wants the Lions? Nick wants the Lions. Foolish. Anyways, sorry, Nick. Houston and Kansas City. Kansas City had a huge comeback against the Chargers, who are still trying to figure their shit out. But you know who the Chargers do have? Danny Woodhead. He's our only hope, Jake. Seriously?
So what are you taking Kansas versus Texans?
Kansas City's an underdog. They are a 2-point underdog. I like Houston. I like Houston just straight up. I was really, really actually kind of pleased with how Brock Osweiler played. He was not nervous on throws. He was kind of forcing it a little bit. especially to that Fuller kid. But that was, I thought it was kind of a coming out party. The defense for Houston was kind of kept in check. They didn't really pressure that much until late in the game. But I don't know. I like Houston. I think they'll be just fine. It's going to be interesting to see how Jacksonville does, but I think Houston is in front for that division right now.
I'll take Houston 17-10.
17-10. All right. Nick is also on Houston, so that makes me nervous that we all picked Houston. All right. New England and Miami. New England is a 6.5-point favorite against the Dolphins. The Dolphins kind of surprised me. Now, offensively, they were hot garbage, but they played very good defense against Russell Wilson, a dynamic quarterback, and Seattle has some weapons. They've gotten better on that side of the ball. They're still trying to figure it out, but I was really pleased with how Miami played defensively. I don't know if it's going to be a little bit of coming back to earth for the quarterback situation in New England, but 6.5 points is really, really tough for me not to take, so I'm going to take Miami, and they're going to cover that. They're going to cover that spread.
I'm going to take New England because I think their offensive system is kind of plug in and play.
Yep.
I think for a quarterback, it's plug in and play. They have a standard. Every quarterback knows the standard. You saw Garoppolo dropping off a lot of dump passes, a lot of short yardage passes.
Over the middle.
They're relying on the yak.
The
a
yak.
lot, so I'm going to take New England in a blowout.
Blowout.
34-17.
Damn. All right, Baltimore. Nick has also got Miami. Baltimore at Cleveland. Cleveland is a 6.5-point underdog. You can move that to 10, and I wouldn't touch Cleveland. Give me Baltimore. Cleveland is a cesspool.
Yeah, Balti all day. I don't know the exact score, but Cleveland's not going to win. I don't think they win 4 games this year.
Nick likes Cleveland in this game. 6.5 points must be enough to entice him to take that. But what's to like? Seriously, what is there to like about that team?
There's nothing.
My game of the Sunday day games is this Pittsburgh and Cincinnati game. Cincinnati is a 3.5-point dog. Pittsburgh, I mean, it's in Pittsburgh. I really love the offensive show they put on against Washington, who is an upgraded defense. It's a divisional game. It's always a good game. Last time they played was that crazy playoff game where Vontaze Burfict and Adam Jones single-handedly ruined that and lost them that football game. I think it's going to be extremely chippy. You may see dudes get tossed out. Give me Pittsburgh at home.
You know, I got to go with my second team. I got the Packers in the NFC. I got the Pittsburgh Steelers in the AFC. Give me Pitt at home, 34-28.
You got a prediction for your old boy, Big Ben?
300 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks.
Dang. A pretty modest prediction, Jake.
Well, D'Angelo Williams killed last game, so
he was awesome. And you know what?
I don't know if they're going to be running the ball more or if they're going to be trying to get Antonio Brown over the top, which, by the way, it's stupid because you know it's coming and they still do it.
I kind of feel like with Pittsburgh, it's plug and play for the running backs. At least it's been for the last 2 years because it doesn't matter who's playing that position. They're getting 100 yards and they're getting about 60 yards receiving. All right, Dallas is going to Washington. Boy, I mean, I don't feel good about any of these teams at all. Dak Prescott, I think, played well for Dallas, but I don't know if he threw anything more than 30 yards down the field. I think Washington can pretty much neutralize that. This one is honestly a toss-up for me. Give me the Redskins. I'll take Washington.
I'm going to take Dallas. I think if they pound the ball and pound the ball and pound the ball,
lean on
you
them.
might be able to wear down Washington. It's really hard. I don't like either of these teams either. I never really have. So I'm going to take Dallas, though.
All right, Nick is also on Washington. We have the Giants and New Orleans. New Orleans, I mean, it's kind of ridiculous the numbers that Breeze puts up sometimes because they throw it like 60 times every game. That's why.
Can you imagine if Rodgers put up 60 times?
He would have. He would throw for 450 yards, 500 yards.
The last time he put it up 40 times a game, they won the Super Bowl.
Ooh. People forget that.
Not me. Not me.
All right, so the Giants are 4.5-point favorites. I'm not that thrilled with the Giants. I'm not that thrilled with New Orleans. This could be another high-scoring game. We saw that New Orleans and Oakland game that was extremely high-scoring. The point line on this game is 53.5 points. I think we could see easily an over on that. I think we could see both teams scoring in the 30s. And I think the Giants will probably get this one done at home. Breeze throws a pick late in the game.
Yeah, I'm picking the Giants. I think they're a more sophisticated team than the Saints. I'm going to pick 42-35 Giants.
Nick has got the Saints, and he says, who they? Who they say going to beat them Saints?
They're not that team anymore, Nick.
No, they're not. Carolina, San Francisco. Carolina is giving up 13.5 points to San Francisco. I don't think San Francisco covers that at all. I think this game might be blowout territory. Although, San Francisco's defense I think is better than everyone thought, but they're not going up against the Rams, who essentially telegraphed every single play they called on Monday night. Did you watch any of that at all, Jake?
I was not interested in that game the slightest.
It was bad.
I didn't watch any of it.
I watched 10 minutes of it. There was about 6 punts, and I said, "This is the worst span of football I've seen in a long time." Give me the Panthers.
Oh yeah,
All
Panthers all day. You got Cam Newton in the red zone.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to stop it. He's a dual threat. He'll run it in. Panthers all day.
Nick is also on the Panthers. Arizona and Tampa Bay. This is an interesting game. Arizona probably going to be coming out hard. You can't start your season 0-2. Tampa Bay looked really good. Defensively, I think they played okay. Jameis Winston looks like he's going to be a really solid player. He was definitely helped by some of the amazing catches and yards after catch scenarios they had, but he looks like he's going to be a solid quarterback. Arizona is giving up 7 points in that game. I think I might take Tampa Bay to cover that. I think it could be a 3-point football game.
I disagree. I think Arizona's defense is going to have a coming out party, and they're going to give Winston problems all game long. I'm going to pick Arizona in a blowout.
I've actually taken Jameis out of my starting lineup for that exact reason, but I feel like it's going to be a little low. I feel like that score is going to be a little lower than we may think. Nick has Arizona. I just can't. I still think Arizona will win. I just can't fathom a scenario where Arizona starts 0-2.
Can we comment on Larry Fitzgerald really quick?
Okay. You say what you have to say. I'll say what I have to say.
He's the oldest wide receiver in the game, and he's still making all these people look like noobs. It's insane. I haven't seen an old player like him at that position showing people up like that since maybe, I can't name a guy, Andre Johnson. I don't know. It's hard to say. He's playing like he's still in his prime.
How's this for you? Do you know one person that dislikes Larry Fitzgerald?
I hated him last year when he tore the Packers up in the clutch.
I mean, outside of like your team plays against him, like Larry Fitzgerald to me was the first breed of the style of wide receiver you see in the NFL now. The absolutely 100% completely dominant wide receiver that you can trust to go out and make a play, and he's like the anti Chad Johnson, you know what I mean? Like the anti diva wide receiver.
He's been doing it his whole career.
Larry Fitzgerald brought in a new breed of wide receivers like Jordy, like Mike Evans, like AJ Green, like Julio Jones. Like, these guys just go out and they make plays, and that's just what they do. They're not diva wide receivers. They are paid more than those diva wide receivers were because they put work in. And I mean, we're in a golden age of wide receivers, in my opinion. It's I mean, week after week, Hopkins is amazing. You see these guys, and they just make incredible plays. And maybe it's just recency bias, but I don't remember plays like this. Like, even with Chad Johnson, like, some of the things these guys are doing are amazing. And for me, Fitzgerald was the first of that kind, of that new kind of era. And I don't want to see him go because he's super fun to watch. I don't
think he's gonna leave though. He's ageless.
He's got the talent, like, and I'm super glad that the Cardinals extended him. It sounds like I think that extension goes for another year or two, if I'm not mistaken. I certainly hope he plays that out because football is better with Larry Fitzgerald. He's super fun to watch. He's a good dude. Like,
he seems to be always there to make the play, and he's been doing his whole career. You would think they'd be keying on him, double teaming him the whole game, but they're not. They never do.
And he kind of got put by the wayside when they brought in Floyd, and Arizona has some weapons now. That Fitzgerald isn't the big time focus, but he still, week in, week out, makes a play that makes you go, holy shit, Larry Fitzgerald looks like he's 24 still.
He does. But, alright, next pick.
I get Larry Fitzgerald. Larry Fitzgerald's awesome.
We just finished up Arizona.
Seattle and LA. Seattle is getting 6.5. They're giving up 6.5, I should say. I don't want anything to do with LA. That was a disgusting act, what they put forth on Monday night. And I thought they would be improved. I didn't think they'd light it up offensively. I didn't think they would punt it 30 fucking times either. I give them Seattle.
Seattle's gonna murder them.
Nick also has Seattle. I don't think we need to stay on that game. It's, blowout city. Denver and Indianapolis. Indianapolis is a 6.5 point dog. The game is in Denver. Denver's defense played really, really well week one. They've had a ton of rest coming into this game. Indy's game came down to the wire. Indianapolis's defense might be the worst in the league. I don't know. Can you name one Indy defensive player? And no, Bob Sanders is not in the league anymore.
Damn it all. No, you really can't.
Corey Redding, maybe? Do they have Corey Redding? I don't know.
But then again, to make an argument, they might be doing the whole phrase, the best defense is a good offense.
Because they score.
Andrew Luck he's an awesome quarterback. And I'm going to pick Indianapolis.
Upset.
Over Denver. 28-21.
I don't know if they beat Denver, but I think they can cover. I think they lose by 6 points and they cover. Oakland and Atlanta. Um, Oakland, I mean, dude, Jack Del Rio going for 2 for the win on the road. He's got some hangers, bud. I don't know if I would have made that call. That was an amazing football game just based on entertainment. It was super fun to watch the last 5 minutes of that game. And, you know, Atlanta, obviously they have Julio. Matt Ryan, I feel like a lot of people in our circle of friends was really high on Ryan, and we would always draft him high in fantasy leagues, and now I think people are finally coming to the realization that he's just kind of another guy. He's not good.
Yeah, he'll win you games, but he's not gonna win you games.
Yeah, no, I hear you. He'll win you games because he tosses one up and Julio comes down with it in double coverage. That's how he wins you games.
Right. But Oakland's hit or miss. I know the hype is real over there in Oakland right now.
Yep.
I'm going to pick ATL because I just think Julio Jones, and he brings a presence to the field that opens up a lot of different offensive attacks for ATL. So I want to pick Atlanta in this one in a close contest.
I am also going to take Atlanta in this one. I think if stuff starts to go south for Atlanta, like let's say they're 2-4 by week 6, week 7, I think you could see change at head coach there. I think they have some talented guys, and they've just kind of been wallowing, not really doing too much. So I will take Atlanta in this game, only because that's like the super Oakland thing to do, come off a big win. They're like a super popular team. A lot of people are picking them to surprise. And what do? They lose their very next game at home. That's just kind of what Oakland does. Nick has Oakland, and I forgot to say that Nick also was on Denver as well. Next
Crab cakes and football. That's what Oakland does.
That's what Oakland does.
That's what Maryland does.
That's what Maryland does. San Diego and Jacksonville. Jacksonville is the dog on the road. I want Jacksonville. I don't think San Diego defensively can hold up. They just lost their best offensive weapon last week. Phillip Rivers is going to be running around for his dear life. I don't see a scenario where San Diego wins. I think Jacksonville has got to that point where they're not that young team traveling out west anymore. I feel like if this is going to be the year where they're better, this is a game they have to win on the road.
I think that San Diego is going to rely hard on Melvin
And Danny.
Gordon and Danny Woodhead, and I think it's going to be kind of a shootout in Jacksonville, but I'm with you. I think Jacksonville is going to pull it out, maybe by 3 points.
All right, this is the one. Packers, Vikings. Packers are a 2.5-point favorite. It's first game in the new stadium for the Vikings. I think the Vikings said Bradford was going to be their starter. I think he's announced as their starter. I don't know. This is tough for me to pick. The Packers are 2.5-point favorites, and I just don't know if they can win with all that hype. I don't think it would be a terrible loss if they were to lose this game to Minnesota. I think Minnesota's defense is going to be lights out. I think this game is going to be in the 17-10 range. I really don't know who's going to have 17, but I really do think it's going to be Minnesota. I have Minnesota 17, Packers 10.
I disagree. I got to disagree with you. I think new quarterback in the Minnesota system, they're going to be relying on AP and their rushing attack.
He just
Green Bay
kills
knows
us,
that.
though. He just kills us.
He kills us. He kills us. But are we going to be afraid of their passing? Negatory, my friend. We are not. Can they cover our offensive threats? I know Minnesota has a great D, but can they cover us? Last year we were out without Jordy.
And
We have him.
we
We
put
can
it
now
on.
spread the field again. I'm going to pick Green Bay in a tight contest, respectfully. Minnesota is a good team. Their defense is going to win them a lot of games, but I'm still going to pick the Green Bay Packers.
Damn it, Jake, you convinced me. 21-17 Packers. I changed my mind.
Damn right.
Nick has the Vikings. That rotten son of a gun. That turncoat. I can't believe he would pick the
That dirty
Vikings.
bastard.
How could he pick the Vikings? That rotten son of a gun.
What the hell is wrong with
Yeah.
him?
Yeah, who would do that? Not on this show. Alright, and then the Monday night game, the second of the Who Gives a Shit on Monday Night Football, Chicago and Philly. My pick, who gives a shit? Seriously, who cares about these teams? Nobody. They're both bad.
Like, how did they get a Monday night slot?
Honestly, Monday Night
How does
Football
that happen?
has been bad for a while. I can't remember the last good Monday night game I watched.
Oh, it was disgusting. Pittsburgh, the last Pittsburgh game was pretty decent.
Pittsburgh was good. I had
Last
to work.
Monday
I
night.
wasn't able to watch that one.
But the LA San Francisco last week,
Garbage.
ugh,
Garbage.
get out of here. Chicago, Philadelphia. Who even plays for Chicago after Matt Forte left?
Alshon, they have Alshon. He's pretty good. But they still have Cutler, so there's that.
Ick.
It's pretty sick. It's gross. It's not good.
Just because I watched the movie Invincible like a month ago, I'm gonna pick Philadelphia.
Just so you know, Vince Papale hasn't played for that team in like 40 years.
But his legend lives on.
His legend lives on. All right, so for the Philadelphia gets it done for the spirit of Vince Papale. I don't know if he's alive or dead, but I'm just gonna say for the spirit of Vince Papale, they get it done. They spoil the home opener for the Chicago Bears, and the Eagles are gonna fly. Fly, Eagles, fly. So there you go, Havlik. You can never say we never backed you before. We're picking the Eagles, bud.
He drafted 7 Eagles in our fantasy draft.
He drafted a lot of Eagles. I mean,
A lot of
you
Eagles
can't.
and former Eagles and soon to be Eagles.
Is he the new? I think he's our new Homer draft guy. Like, it used to always be Josh when he was in our league, and then it was Dakota, and I think now it's Havlik has taken that moniker. Like he's the new guy.
It's Dustin Allen.
And you know what? He'd be the guy who would like rip on us for taking Packers too. He's got 7 fucking Eagles. They're not even good, Havlik.
Either they're current Eagles or they were former Eagles. But yeah, he has
Right.
roughly 7 of them.
Right. You got to throw in the former, because hey, he knows what they can do. Simple as that, Jake. Simple as that.
Oh goodness sakes!
All right,
Is that it? for the
that's
games?
all the picks, man. We did it. We made it through.
Well, I don't think I picked a single one wrong.
Well, we're gonna find out. So what we're gonna do is we're keeping track of our picks, who gets them right, who covers for the ultimate championship. We'll call it the the 3 guys from Wisconsin pick the pick pack, the pick patty whack pickly do, and you can pick 2. So go ahead and tweet us your picks and let us know who you've got against the spread. We use footballlocks.com because it's the first thing that comes up when I type in NFL Vegas spreads for week 2. So that's what I used. You guys can use it too. Send me your picks. We want to hear. At the end of the year, the winner gets a really firm handshake.
I typed in Vegas spreads and got something else that popped up on my screen, but we won't go into that detail.
Well, that's a good one to end on. We want to thank you guys for listening. It's been a while since we put one up, but I think Friday night or Sunday mornings or even Saturdays, since my work schedule is kind of jacked up now, I think we'll be good. So yeah, we will get this uploaded. We'll probably upload it on a Saturday. It'll probably be uploaded Saturday, so you can listen to it while you're watching college football. And while I'm at the Badger game, Saturdays are for the boys. Going to be shotgun and a brew. And thinking about you, Jake. So here's to it. Thanks for listening, guys. And we'll see you next week.